Hey everybody, Danny Mod here. Thanks for joining us again. This week I had Mike from Lichfield come and see me, a senior golfer that was striking the ground consistently behind the golf ball and losing so much yardage. This week I want to show you how he managed to add 20 yards plus to his iron shots and start to get him hitting a ball turf contact. We're going to show you exactly what he was doing and why he was consistently striking the ground behind. And I'm going to show you a couple of exercises that we gave him that really made a big difference into the way he swung through the shot to start striking that ball turf contact instead. So let's get cracking. So what was Mike doing? Well, when Mike came to see me, he really was. He never took a divot really, and if he did, the divot was always behind the ball as opposed to in front of the golf ball, right? So if you're unaware, in order to strike a wonderful shot, we must strike the ball, then the ground. It's often a confusing subject for some people. They often feel like you have to strike the ground where the ball is. No, we want to strike a ball, then the ground. So the first thing is concept. So we need to, we need to understand if you want to strike a ball cleanly and well, so you get that divot after the golf ball, you've got to understand that the ball is struck and then the ground stuck, and divot starts generally at least a couple of inches past that golf ball. Now with Mike, he had no chance of doing that, because when he was swinging, what was happening was he'd come through here, right, and the release of the golf club would happen way too early. So the low point of the arc, if you imagine it's like a pendulum here, there's always a low point before it goes upwards. The low point of his arc was way behind the golf ball. So now suddenly the club's almost going up as it strikes the golf ball, and he was constantly hitting it fat and thin. Now, but why was that? He knew that he needed to strike the ball then the turf. He'd even tried one of my earlier exercises and he hated it. I don't know if I'll put it in the iCard for those people who were benefiting from it. It's a towel exercise where you put a towel behind the golf ball and you got to strike the ball and miss the towel here. He hated it. We joked about that, but what we did work is we kind of figured out why he was doing it, and the main reason here was this: he was so flat-footed through the impact area. So what was happening was there was absolutely zero rotation in his lower part of his body, right? So what happened was there was no rotation, no transference, natural transference of weight. So all he did when he came through here was he just simply used his hands and his arms to hit the golf ball. And from there you have absolutely no chance of striking ball turf contact. So what do we do? Well, in order to strike the ground after the golf ball, we need to get a rotational movement and a transference of weight. So if you look at this here, the weight needs to move over to the left side, and there needs to be a rotational movement here. When you do that, look at the difference in this. We get the shaft lean. Without the transference of weight and without the rotation, we look like this. And then from there, when we strike the golf ball, you're always going to use your hands and your arms. And how can you get over here? You can't. You're too far behind the golf ball. Now, what was happening with Mike was we needed to, some of the things that were going on in his head, he was overthinking it, overcomplicating it, and ultimately some misconceptions were coming up as we were having a conversation. The first one was this need to stay still without realizing. So he wanted to strike the ball. He'd been told that he'd got to keep his head down and his eye on the golf ball. And what that was doing is it was restricting his amount of movement through the shot. So when he comes through here, look, if I'm dead still, how can I ever strike the ground after the golf ball unless I transfer my weight and rotate through? Not possible. So first thing first, what he was actually working on, which was keeping your head down, keeping still, etc., was never going to work, and he was never going to get him the strike that he needed. So we gave him two simple exercises that got him striking the ball, then the ground. And then one of them does require a little bit of balance, but it worked an absolute treat. So all I want you to do here is this. Mike wasn't really transferring his weight. Now, if you transfer your weight, I'll try to transfer it right to left here without exaggerating it, it's very difficult to feel. So what I got Mike doing was this: literally lifting his left foot up and then his right. And as I got him doing this, he looked like this, which is pretty good. But the problem is that on its own would not get him hitting a ball turf strike. At this stage, his head is still way too still and he's still back here. What we need to do is help him get some rotation as well. So watch this. We added a final dimension, which was to allow his head to also flow through the impact area, okay? Watch this. So again, 1, 2. So this is just test your balance out a little bit initially, but what it does, once you get into rhythm of this, you'll feel, there we go. Just get into a rhythm. As he did this, suddenly he felt, my God, I'm moving lots and lots. But what you then do with this is you start to then work back through. Now we've got a flow through the impact area. We've got a weight, having a sense of what that is, and then we can go and start striking that golf ball. And you can see here, I'm flowing all the way through. Now, as we discuss this how to get this ball turf contact and get him actually flowing through the impact area, he also noticed as we were doing this, weight over here, weight over here, weight over here, weight over here. Now watch this. This almost led to this, okay? Now, if you've been in the game long enough and you've come across a player called Gary Player, you'll know that that in itself is an exercise to create a ball turf contact too, which is what? It's what we call the step through drill. Why is it so successful and why have so many people used it in the past? Because it helps to get you rotating through the shot, getting onto your left side and getting that ball turf contact. Remember, your body behind the golf ball impact is what creates the ground, you hitting the ground behind the ball, right? So, we didn't do this with Mike because he didn't need it. That in itself worked, but you could extend this exercise to weight over here back and then just literally flowing through and stepping through the shot if you want as well. Just one caveat with that one. Make sure when you're doing this that your left toe is pointed out 30 degrees. That just helps you here provide more mobility in your knees so you've got room to come through. And that's all we did with Mike. So again, look, we're trying to get a contact of the ball first, then the ground. How do we do that with Mike? It was really straightforward. What was Mike doing? From this position here, look, Mike was basically doing this. He'd swing back. There's absolutely no rotation here of the legs, no transference of weight. All that did is create a flick motion here. He would go backwards because there's no room, and he would hit the ground behind. Let me show you from this angle. He'd swing back. There was absolutely no rotation in the legs. He would release way behind the back of the golf ball here. No transference of weight, no chance of getting over here. You can't just try and get forward. You've got to have you work on some exercises. So exaggerated exercises like this, where we literally get you to move over to this side, move over to this side. If you start to practice that, right? I'm letting the club swing freely, and I'm allowing my head also to swing freely through the shot, backwards and forwards. It will give you that real sensation. Even if you do this 1 and 2. Love it. Why? Because we're getting over on this side of the golf ball. That's one more of them. So, over to the right, over to the left. And I'm literally swinging. It's a free flowing motion. Do not keep your head still. It's an old wives' tale. Head down is one of the biggest killers. It stops the body moving. You can't get forward of the shot. Eye on the ball, not a problem, but allow your head to flow through as well, and you will start to see those ball turf contacts. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, and you know some of your friends are really struggling to strike that ball consistently, please share it. And if you're not receiving this in your inbox on a regular basis, then don't forget to press the subscribe button and the bell. And until next week, have a great golfing week.